So let's look at thoughts. Let's break this down just a little bit more. So I want to break down the physical body into components. So if you take your body, how many of you have a physical body in here? How many has a physical body? Most of you, good. Now, so if you take the physical body and you magnify it with a gigantic magnifier, okay, you will see that you have your body that's broken down in systems. We have different systems: cardiovascular system, muscular system, skeletal system, neurological system, okay, broken down. If you break down the systems, those are composed of organs. Okay, what are some organs? We got the heart, we got the lungs, we got the kidneys, we got the prostate, got the ovaries, okay, pancreas, etc. So we got organs. You break down those organs, what do you have? You got different tissues. Break down tissues, you got cells. So now we're getting very tiny, right? Okay, we're getting really small. Magnify even more. You got a bunch of little cells. Now what if you broke down those cells even smaller? Now you got atoms, very tiny things, right? So starting with the body, breaking down, we got atoms. So what if you break those atoms down to even smaller components? You get what's called subatomic particles, which are very tiny. So subatomic particles are actually light waves vibrating at different frequencies. Okay, is everybody following this? Our physical body is basically vibrating waves of light frequencies. This is all we are. We think we might be solid, but we're actually not solid. We're just vibrating light waves. Okay? Does that make sense?
Sure.
Same thing for this pen. If you broke this pen down to its basic unit, it's also vibrating light waves with different frequencies. Same thing with this chair. Same thing with this bottle. Same thing with this pad. So we're surrounded by things that aren't actually solid like we think. They're just in different densities, different vibrational frequencies, depending on what we're dealing with. We're just vibrating constantly. Do you agree that some people are more dense than others? Okay, so we got some people vibrating at different frequency than others. What's important about that is this: every thought that you have is also a frequency as well. Okay, every time you have a thought, it's also going to have a certain frequency to it. Different densities, different wavelengths. It's going to have different vibrations to it. Some are more dense, some are less dense than others. Some are higher frequencies, some are lower frequencies. But essentially, every thought that you have also has a frequency as well. Same for your body. This is how every thought that you have affects every cell in your entire body. Once you understand this, it becomes it makes self-talk have a whole different meaning to it. Because every time you have a negative thought about yourself, about your life, it actually affects your entire body. Understanding that, you're not just a solid person, a solid unit that has that thoughts can't control. You're actually vibrating just as much as your thoughts are. And so when you learn to shift your thinking, you actually can create a different outcome in the way you feel. How does that sound to you guys? Does that make sense?
Too easy.
It sounds easy, doesn't it? But it really is. How many of you had a time where you maybe feel depressed and feel down and you don't feel good about yourself? Have you ever noticed how that actually changes your physiology? I mean, I see patients come in my office all the time, and they come in and they're kind of like this, and they feel depressed and they feel down. Their self-esteem's down, their self-worth is down, which changes their entire posture and their entire physiology. If we don't shift that thinking in someone, then it's really difficult to get them well, because we're trying to physically fix someone, but emotionally they're working against us because of how they think. We have to start looking at your role in your health, because it's not just your body is not just a static thing that doesn't change, and then however the disease that you have is just going to be there the rest of your life. You can actually change all this kind of stuff, but you got to understand this relationship between what you think and how your body feels. Okay, and every cell in your body is affected by everything that you think. For instance, you can have, if you're feeling inspired and loving your life and you're feeling energetic, that completely changes your entire posture, doesn't it? As opposed to feeling low self-esteem, low self-worth. Feeling great, enthusiastic, excited about life, loving life, changes everything, okay? And so the first step in starting to heal yourself is to start shifting your thinking. Your body and your symptoms, your diseases that you have today are simply a result of your lifestyle, and how you've been thinking for the last years, months, days. Okay, so it's a result of something that you've been doing. Maybe your diet has been poor for years, or you physically hadn't taken good care of yourself, or you've had emotional baggage for years and years and years. Okay, all this combined is going to create physiological symptoms. If you shift how you think, you shift your health, and you can actually start healing yourself. It does sound simple, doesn't it? But it really is. And so the first step is learning this whole truth about our thoughts and about our life and about our physiology. So let's take a look at here. I think this is an important page. We talk about different vibrations. We talk about different ways of thinking. We talk about different thoughts. Like I said, our thoughts have different vibrations. You have higher vibrational thinking, and you have lower vibrational thinking. Higher vibrational thinking is more of an inspired thoughts, inspiration thinking, whereas low vibration thinking is more desperate thinking, desperation type thoughts. More of desperation type thoughts are going to be got tos, have tos, shoulds. And you ever say those things to yourself? I mean, if you find yourself on a regular basis saying, I've got to do this, or I really should do that, or I really have to do this, or I've got to do that, or all those more of a lower vibration thinking, okay, that's going to affect your physiology because they're a lower frequency, lower vibration thinking frequencies, right? As opposed to higher vibration thinking, which is love tos, choose tos, desires to. Do you see the difference in that? So your body's amazing because it's designed to let you know when you're out of balance and when you're feeling in desperation thinking by giving you symptoms. Okay? You're going to have more symptoms when you're thinking this way and less symptoms when you're thinking this way. I bet you when you're doing things, how many of you know that when you're doing the things that you absolutely love doing, how do you feel physically? Energetic, you feel better, you feel more alive, you feel healthier, you have less symptoms, less disease. As opposed to feeling got tos, has tos, shoulds is a lower vibration, which is going to affect you and have more symptoms and disease. I have a lot of patients, unfortunately, that come in, and they're maybe at a job, at a factory job, and they're doing it because they've got to. I've got to go to work today, I really have to go do these things. Invariably, they always have more symptoms. They heal a lot slower. They have more problems with their posture. They have more problems with their physiology. They have more health issues, more digestive problems than people that I treat that are doing what they love doing, where they wake up in the morning and they say, gosh, I'd love to go to work today. I choose to go do these activities that I love doing. And when you're doing what you love to do, you feel better. Anybody ever recognize that? Anybody ever do things that they just really, really don't like doing and all of a sudden you don't feel good? You get sick. Story about my son. Anytime it was time to do the dishes, he would all of a sudden have to go to the bathroom, or he wouldn't feel very good, or all of a sudden his energy's down, okay? But when it was time to play a game, play his video, guess what? He had plenty of energy. He felt great, And I'm the same way myself. We're all the same way. When it's time to do dishes, I all of a sudden don't feel that good. My energy's kind of down. My posture changes. I want to do other things. I try to get out of those things. But if it's time for me to come to the office, I've got a new patient, and I get to go try to find out how to help someone, man, my energy's up immediately. So you don't have to be drug out of bed to do the things that you love to do. And if you're doing things that you choose to do or desire to do, you don't have to be motivated to do those things. This is motivation. This is inspiration. You heard about motivational speakers, right? Well, motivational speakers have to they motivate people to do things they don't necessarily want to do or desire to do, but they get them to do it. And it's kind of a rah-rah kind of thing, right? An inspirational speaker, an inspirational thinking, there is no motivation because you just do it because you love doing it. Does anyone have to drag you out of bed to do the things you love doing? No, because you just do it. I don't have to be drug out of bed to get to the office and help patients. If I got to get up and do dishes or vacuum, I got to be drug out of bed. Believe me, it's not something I get up and go. I say, "Wow, I can't wait to get up and go clean the house." It's not something I think about doing. It doesn't get me up. But if I know I've got a big day, maybe I'm going to go give a talk, or maybe I'm going to go on a trip, or go on a some kind of adventure that I love doing, I'm up before the alarm tells me to get up because I'm ready to go, because I'm loving it. How you feel physically whenever you're living and doing inspired thinking things changes from feeling poor, low energy symptoms to energetic, no symptoms, feeling great when you're doing what you love doing. Also, high vibration things is when you're being your authentic self, okay? And you're expressing your true self versus when you're being inauthentic. Usually, in this kind of thing, when you're finding yourself got to, have to, should to, usually you're doing things, you're subordinating yourself to higher authorities. You're doing things that other people think you should do, right? Well, so-and-so thinks I should, so I should do that. So usually that's more of you're subordinating yourself, parents, authority figures, bosses, teachers, religious people that you're subordinating to. Typically, that's when you're going to get the got to, have to, shoulds. Versus when you're feeling authentic and you're expressing your true self, you just don't have that kind of language. You don't have it. You're just more of a love to, desire to, choose to. Okay? I love having choices. I think when people have choices and you're choosing to do the things you love doing, it's a whole different kind of energy and vibration than it is when you're not getting to do those things. Also, gratitude. Doing what you love, loving what you do, feeling grateful for your life versus ingratitude, which is a lower vibration. So every patient I treat that has some kind of disease or symptom, invariably they're not feeling grateful for their life. Okay, they're having ingratitude for their life, their surroundings, their work, their relationship, their own identity. They're not quite sure who they are and what they want to do, which causes ingratitude, which causes symptoms and disease. Again, the beauty of symptoms is your body's way of trying to tell you that you're living in ingratitude state versus in a gratitude state. So learning to pay attention to those symptoms is crucial if you want to try to heal yourself, heal your body, heal your mind. Deepak Chopra talks about having a timeless mind, ageless body. Okay? So when you're feeling in this state of high vibration, inspired thinking, love tos, authentic self, expressing your authentic self, gratitude, you have what's called a timeless mind and you have an ageless body. Okay? When you have a timeful mind, ageful body, and you're living in this low vibration state of desperation, you age in this state. This is another way your physiology is showing you that you're out of balance with yourself. This is more imbalance, this is more balance. So timeful mind, ageful body, this is where you get the wrinkles and you get the early wrinkles and the early saggies and the early, those early posture changes that become permanent because you have a timeful mind. Picture it as it's kind of weighing you down. Okay, this is a real heavy, dense way of thinking. This is more of a lighter, inspired way of thinking. Here, timeless mind, ageless body. These are the people who, when you're loving your life, doing what you love, loving what you do, feeling balanced and feeling grateful, you just tend to look younger as you get older. This is where I see someone who comes into me and they're 30 years old, but they look 50. Well, they're going to be living a lot of their life in this state. Okay, someone who comes in when they're 50, but they look 30, I guarantee you they've had a lot of time in this area. The best way to stay young and healthy, look young and healthy, is to start living here more in the inspired state. So again, emotional baggage weighs you down. It's kind of like when you have anybody in here think you might have emotional baggage? Anybody ever had something like that? Emotional charges? Not you, right? Never. I have had that occasionally. I think we all do. I think it cycles. I don't think we're ever free of it. I think we always cycle from in and out. It's just different stages of life. You always have challenges in your life. You're never going to be free of challenges. You're never going to be free of stresses. But what you can learn to do is change your perception of the stresses in your life because they're going to keep coming. And if you can shift your perceptions of how you react to those, then you can actually you can heal yourself. Because challenges are very important for us to grow, for us to learn. If you are looking to have a life where there's no challenges, you'll never find it. You'll always be disappointed. You'll always be frustrated. And you'll always be living here because it just doesn't happen. You're going to have challenges in your life. The question is, how are you going to allow those challenges to affect you? okay? And how deep do you want to get into those challenges? How far do you want to let them get you down? Again, every challenge is, every emotional stress is kind of like a brick. So let's hand you a brick of challenge, okay? And you just throw it on your back. Here's another one, throw it on your back. Here's another one, throw it on your back. So you can continue to do that and carry the weight on your shoulders and on your back, which can create back pain. I have patients who, they come into my office and they got lots of shoulder pain, just tons of shoulder pain. And when I start asking them what's going on, emotionally, they're carrying a lot of weight on their shoulders. A classic story, single mom, couple kids, has a job, has to get home, take care of the kids. Everything's on her shoulders or his shoulders. They got a lot of shoulder pain. Recognizing that's very important. Also, someone who may come in with bowel issues, okay? A lot of times that's because they're carrying things, they're not letting go of, they have stresses that they're just not letting go of. Or people that have knee problems. Maybe they can't stand something in their life. They start having knee pains, okay? Maybe they don't know which direction to go. They might start having hip issues. Sometimes they're having issues where they can't let go of something, and so they have wrist problems, okay? Does that make sense? You can find out what stresses you have by looking at your physiology. In the class I took, a couple years ago, now it was about a year and a half ago now, we explored about 1,000 different symptoms and 1,000 different diseases and their emotional components, okay? And these are kind of the examples I was telling you. So when your body is attacking itself like fibromyalgia and your immune system's turning on yourself, then emotionally, where are you turning on yourself, okay? Where are you not loving yourself and loving your life? Where are you attacking your own self, okay? And so it's incredible how the physiology changes based on how you perceive your stresses in your life. Diabetes, heart disease, high blood pressure, cholesterol problems, it all has emotional components to it. Liver problems, emotional components. Anger, gall, those kind of things tend to set up in the liver. Resentment, looking at kidneys possibly, okay? And again, everybody's a little bit different, but generally you're going to have, if you got some kind of disease like that, there's going to be some emotional component to it. And so if you can explore in your life where you have your stresses, you can also look in your physiology and find out what's going on, because it's all tied together. I think it's really fascinating when you can learn to take a look at your emotional baggage and then find out where it's affecting you. A lot of times money issues, anybody ever have money stresses? A lot of times it can be carried in your back. You got back pain because it's breaking your back, you know, to have to carry the load, or you're having, you know, issues with stability issues. So your back is one of your stabilizers. So I find when patients feeling unstable financially or unstable in relationships, their back starts hurting for no reason. I've seen this in my life as well. Certain weird symptoms come up for no reason. Haven't done anything to do it. I've been eating pretty well. All of a sudden I got a symptom. First thing I'm looking at, okay, emotionally, what am I stressed out about? What's happened in my life that's caused me to have emotional stresses and triggers? And then you can take a look at those and find out what it is. And it's really all your perception, because you can shift your perceptions like that if you can understand and see both sides. And that's kind of what the emotional component is about when we're dealing with someone's health. It's about shifting perceptions, because everyone has a different set of what's called values, okay? What's most important to what's least important. The things that you think about the most, the things that you love to spend your money on, the things you love spending your time with, the things you surround yourself with, the things that you love to talk about. Those are the things that are the most important to you. Every single person has a different set of values. No one is the same. And so the way you filter your world and you filter your stresses is based on your values. Because something that stresses me out may not stress you out at all, because I've got my own set of values. But something that really is stressful to you, I may think, well, that's no big deal, but to you, it's a huge thing. For instance, a teenager's set of values is different than an adult's. Like, someone calls a teenager ugly or stupid can be life-changing and horrific and can totally stress them out to the max. Whereas someone tells you, well, you're ugly, well, okay, cool, no problem. It's all based on perceptions and your values. When you're feeling on purpose, and everyone in here has a purpose, we're all here for some reason. We're not just randomly put here to just go and live and die. We have a reason for being here. There's something that we're here to fulfill. There's some higher calling that you have, which is based around your values and what's important to you. And so when you're feeling like you're living according to your values, and you're feeling on purpose, and you're feeling inspired, your health is better. When you're feeling off purpose, and you're feeling like your values aren't being met, and you're not feeling fulfilled, you're going to have more sickness and disease. Okay? As simple as that. And so one of the first places to look when you start having symptoms and diseases is, am I off purpose? Do I feel like I'm being authentic? Am I expressing myself fully? Do I feel like I am making my own choices in life, or am I subordinating and I'm doing what everyone else thinks I should do? Anybody ever do that? Anybody in here ever do things that others think you should do and you know it's not really what you want to be doing? Here's what happens. After a while of doing the things that you aren't really inspired about doing, you tend to build resentment either with yourself. And a lot of times, if you're not speaking your truth about something, you're gonna carry it in. You're gonna carry it because our emotions, when you internalize, get carried into your organs, into your joints, into your tissues. Okay, so if you have unresolved emotional baggage, okay, for years, that leads to symptoms, sickness, and disease over time. Okay, unresolved emotional baggage. Learning to find out where your emotional baggage is, and looking at that and finding out where your perceptions are either not being met or being met, and handling that, you can actually heal yourself. I think that it's important to find out where you feel you're expressing your true self and where you're not expressing your true self. I see a lot of patients who are doing exactly what I just mentioned, which is they're living their life according to what everyone else thinks they should do, and internally they really would love to be doing something else. This ring a bell to anybody at all? Most of you, yeah. I mean, I think we all go through our life sometimes where we subordinate ourselves to others and we end up doing things that we're not really inspired about doing, but we think we should be doing it. And again, I call it shoulding all over yourself. When you're starting to when you fill your life with the shoulds, it's a very uninspiring feeling. You know, when you're only doing things that you feel you should do, it's not very inspiring. Okay, and you really got to be motivated to do those things that you should be doing. So as opposed to the language of I'm doing what I love to do, there is no motivation. There is no shoulds and got tos and have tos. And those shoulds, got tos, and have tos over years and years and years tend to create health issues, back pain, neck pain, internal issues, digestive problems, hormone problems, bipolar issues, to where you're up and then you're down, and you're up and then you're down. Anybody ever experienced that? To where you feel up and then all of a sudden you feel down, and you're living in this emotional roller coaster. It's not that you want to be up all the time, because that's not realistic, but it's certainly not inspiring to be down all the time either. So ideally, it's more that you want to feel more aligned, and where you have a little bit of ups, a little bit of downs. When you have a down, all that really means, okay, there's some kind of perception I've got a stressor, I'm feeling down, let's take a look at it and let's bring myself back. Good, I'm feeling up, but then I'm feeling down. Because you're never going to be this. That's what happens when you get on antidepressants, I think, is they give you Prozac, antidepressants, and you just don't feel anything. You just kind of numb to everything. You're not up, you're not down, you just don't really care, right? And I see this with patients, a lot of young kids I see that are on antidepressants, which one of our goals in the clinic is let's try to get these adults off these things, because it basically stifles you from being here, okay? You basically become numb. And let's get you to actually feel things, because your emotions are important. I think people sometimes, when you feel emotional about something, and I know that as a guy, you're maybe taught by your folks, don't show your emotion. And I think that people get taught that. Don't show your emotion. It's not good. You're not supposed to be emotional. But it actually is. Your emotions are there to teach you, okay? It's the only way that you can know how you feel about things. So it's okay to have emotions. It's just, what are you going to do with those emotions when you have them? Because, if you have an emotion, but you don't know how to deal with it and don't know what it means and what it's trying to tell you, then you can live in an emotional state. Ups and downs, ups and downs. But if you have an emotion and then you have the tools to assess, okay, what is this emotion teaching me? What does this mean for me in my life? Then you can actually, and you had a tool to analyze that, you can actually get back to that balanced state again. And then you have another emotion, you understand what it means, and then it comes back again. It's just when you have the emotional states and you don't know how to get out of the cycle, okay, you get kind of stuck in this spin cycle of emotion, and you don't understand, you don't have the tools to learn the lesson of that emotion, you stay stuck. Anybody ever felt stuck in their life? This is what it's all about. Is you might have an emotional state, you don't understand what it's about, and so you stay stuck and you kind of revolving, and that creates timeful mind, ageful body. You age when you're stuck in that cycle. It wears on you. It brings you down, makes your life feel heavy. Okay, it affects your self-esteem, your self-worth, your energy goes down. But what if you had a tool to where when you had an emotional state, you got angry, you got sad, you got depressed, or even you got elated, okay? Because being elated is just as bad as being depressed. They're both states of bipolarism, okay? You can be too far up, too far down. See, the universe is always trying to keep you balanced. So if you have a state where you're too far up, then what do you need to bring yourself in balance? You're going to have be way down, okay? And see this with patients, and this is what they call bipolar people, okay? Someone is manic depressant. Well, what do they do for those people? Take this pill so you just stay this way so you don't feel anything. That's not any good either. Because to me, part of life is having some emotions, feeling things, feeling sad about certain things or feeling happy about certain things. But it's just about not staying in those states for long periods of time, because that's when you start creating long-term health issues when you stay in those states. Having tools to keep you back in balance makes it a little more fun, and you can learn and grow. Because I think we're all here to grow, we're all here to learn. I think we're not all here to stay in the same cycle for the rest of our lives. I think that, if you can learn from the challenges in your life, then you can grow. It's kind of like in school. If you're in third grade and you fail third grade because it was too challenging, what do you have to do? You got to do it again, okay? So if you have an emotional challenge in your life that comes, and it's a big challenge, and you don't learn the lesson of that challenge, what's going to happen? It comes right back again. Maybe a different form, could be a different person, but it's going to happen all over again, and it's going to keep happening until you learn the lesson of whatever that challenge is. Does that make sense? How many of you had the same challenge over and over again? You're like, shit, why do I keep attracting this same thing? I did this last year. I'm doing it all over again. What's going on with this? Well, it's the perfect design of the universe to give you this challenge because there's something there is to learn about that, okay? It's all about, we're all in school here every day. Life is school. And so challenges are there to teach you something. And if you just want to ignore those challenges and try not to, I don't want to have challenges, I just want to be happy all the time, guess what you attract? Crap. You attract challenges to try to teach you that, it's not all about being happy all the time. It's about having a balance of both. It's about having some happy times and some sad times, about being up and about being down. But the key is not to make it where it's a roller coaster ride. Having tools to keep you more on an even level is a little more manageable in your life. I know I've had times in my life where I felt, wow, earlier in life before I kind of learned about, universal laws and about how to balance emotions, I had times where I was really up. Man, I'm elated. I've got a new house. This is exciting. And then, oh shoot, I got to pay for this stuff, Or because there's always both sides. You're not ever going to get one side without the other. And so understanding that and then learning how to deal with both sides makes life a little bit more manageable, and it makes life a little bit more exciting. I think it'd be kind of boring if you never had a challenge ever in your life. If you're a child and a child is never challenged their entire life, what happens? They stay juvenile, they don't grow. So we need challenges to help us grow because we're humans. If you're wanting to grow and you want to live and you want to expand your life, you need some challenge. But you need some tools to know how to handle the challenge and understand what to do with the challenge, okay? Does that make sense? And so I think that's what we want to do. So when you're feeling your values are fulfilled, you're going to feel more inspired. When you feel your values are being unfulfilled, you're not getting your values met, or you perceive you're not getting your values met, you're going to feel not so good about your life. And so I think that one of the most important things we could do in our lives is to understand more about ourselves, okay? Self-expression. How do you know how to express yourself? Well, who are you? Why are you here? What's important to you? So understanding what's called your values, which we do a process called a value. Dr. DeMartini, one of our people we've learned from, the course I was mentioning, does a process called a value determination process, which can look and see exactly what your values are, what your drives are, and it's a series of about 13 questions that you go through, and you answer the questions, and with guidance you can identify exactly what your core values are. Now, why is it important to know what your values are? Because it will explain to you about why you get angry about things you do, why you get your buttons pushed. Anybody ever get buttons pushed in here? Sometimes? So, when your buttons get pushed, that's just an indication of something is, in your perception, is going against your values, okay? So if you're in relationships, if you have a job, if you're around people and you don't understand what your values are, and you might find yourself getting your buttons pushed, getting angry a lot, or getting sad a lot, then you may not understand it. But if you can understand what your values are and what drives you, then it makes sense. Your life's going to start making sense all of a sudden. Oh, that's why this bothers me when this happens. Oh, that's why I get angry with my spouse when they say or do these things, because this is going against what my values are. If you're living your life and you perceive your values aren't getting met for years and years, it's going to put you in this category. And guess what happens? You start having symptoms, and you start having diseases. You start having the thinking that is more of the desperation thinking, which leads to early aging, ageful mind, timeful mind, ageful body, as opposed to timeless mind, ageless body. And I'm kind of here, I'd like to have more of a timeless mind, ageless body. I like to get older and still look younger. And this is why it's important to have self-talk, like I was mentioning, because once you realize that every single thing you think about yourself affects your physiology, you start kind of being careful about what you say to yourself.